Welcome back to episode 3 of The People of 1953. If you haven't yet, please go watch episode 2 where we talk about Operation Paperclip. And if you have not watched episode 1, we talk about Jack Parsons, the occult, and NASA. I want to welcome everybody back to The People of 1953. Already messing up. I hope you really enjoyed the last episode. This will be the final conclusion of the 3-part series. And so why not end it with the perfect topic that has a lot of speculative behavior behind it, but we can prove that this all happened through several operations. So with that, today we'll be talking about Nazis in Argentina. As we talked about in Operation Paperclip, American and Soviets were fighting over German scientists and technologies and how can we get them here to use them for our own personal good or evil. Depends on you, on what you think morally and ethically, and how far are you willing to go to further advance as a civilization. Anyways, a lot of people don't know that actually a lot of Nazis and SS soldiers and officers escaped through secret routes from Europe or from Germany across Europe into South America. A large number of these officers fled from Argentina, where President Juan Perón allowed many of them to enter the country. A lot of people credit Juan Perón and also Operation Odessa. Operation Odessa was coined in 1946. It's basically a cover-up of the Nazi underground escape plans made by the end of World War II by a group of SS officers, with the aim of facilitating secret escape routes. The name of those escape routes? Ratlinen, or Ratlines. There's a German name and then there's a regular name. The Ratlines were systematic escape routes from Nazis from Germany to havens in South America, particularly Argentina, in addition Brazil, Chile, and Uruguay. A lot more other places as well that kind of go into the radar, but our main focus would be Argentina. So the real question is, how? So there is some speculation on particularly how they had this and what all governments and who's all involved to get the Nazis across Europe into South America. So according to one accounts, they first transferred from Spain through Rome and into Genoa, Genoa. The first route lines were caused by some clergy of the Catholic Church, an Austrian bishop, and a Croatian priest, as well as the International Committee of Red Cross. Most notable was actually the Secretary of State, Cardinal Luigi Maggiore, Maglione, evidently at the behest of Pope Pius, the XII, allowing them to escape, allowing them to work and live normal lives. So, a lot of people speculate this part because they would say, how could the Catholic Church be involved with something so heinous? But in reality, why wouldn't they want to get these people through rat lines and cover-ups and different stuff like that? In reality, were they working together? Was there different things? We'll get into it. You probably wonder, how did all these people get through, and was the Catholic Church or was these organizations such as Odessa providing fake IDs? So yes, simplest yes. Some use fake IDs and live normal lives for years. Underneath the radar, died peacefully. Don't know if they died peacefully because they do have a lot of guilt on their shoulders, of course. If you're capable of doing evil, well, I imagine you're not really, your morale is different. There's not really a devil and an angel on your shoulder. One of the most well-known was Adolf Eichmann, a major organizer of the Holocaust. He lived in Argentina under a false name until the 60s, when he was actually caught by the intel agency, Mossad, which captured him and brought him back to the state of Israel. If you do not know, Mossad is like one of the top spy agencies in the world. They're part of the Israeli regime, whether you support Israel or not. We won't get into that. But he was eventually held on trial. Another one was Joseph Mengele, Mengele, the Auschwitz doctor known for brutal experiments on prisoners. He escaped to South America and avoided capture for the rest of his life and went on to live a peaceful life. I hate to use the peaceful word, but you've committed the most heinous crimes in possibly history of one of them, and you got away with it. From the help, rather it was our government, the Catholic Church, or we can just say it was straight Project Odessa. I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of skepticism behind it. By an American broadcast journalist by the name Paul Manning. Manning. His book, Martin Borum, Nazis in Exile. During that book, he mentioned that around 10,000 Nazis went to Argentina under Odessa and Deutsch Hilferune. Hiluerine. And that was really kind of like where all the skepticism came from, because according to actual official reports, many historians debate how much assistance the former Nazis actually had received from the governments and sympathizers and international networks at war. So they're basically saying, like, one thing, this project's out there, Odessa and the Catholic Church, and it's been acknowledged, but on the other side of history, some historians debate it, and they don't say, well, the Nazis didn't have this much help. But my thing is, though, how do they get from one side of the world to the other side of the world? That's the main thing that we all want to know. But one thing is clear, not all Nazi officials were brought into justice after World War II. We can get into another episode, but one of the most historical recounts is about 2 months after World War II, a boat by the U-530 submarine landed in Argentina around 2 months. It's short, 2 months later. So that right there is one of the single-handedly things that historians can't debate, because it proves that clearly they figured out a route from there to there. You can go off what Paul Manning said, and it said 10,000 people, but Juan Perón said there was about 300 Nazis, which, if you look at some of these villages and the culture, the German culture and German Argentines, that's a tongue twister. But anyways, there's a large, heavy presence of German culture still relevant to this day. And since the late 1800s, it's been Argentina. There's been a connection in Germany. But this leads to the final questions for me. What other war crimes and criminals are out there? Or what other war criminals are out there that escaped, and how many were truly Nazis? There was a lot of bad things happening during this time, and a lot of other bad countries and regimes. Yes, the Nazis were doing a lot of bad things, but a lot of the operations they were doing, we eventually would go and do the same thing as well. And so that right there will lead to kind of what's next. And so the next thing we're going to get into really is MLK Ultra and how that came to fruition. And a lot of people don't know that has a lot to do with Nazi influence and what was going on in Auschwitz, and basically trying to understand the human conscience through torture and psychological warfare. If you haven't already, please subscribe, please like, reshare, comment. We're getting better and better every episode. And this was episode Nazis in Argentina.